Hey, this is Mad Matt Budget Boostin'. Today I'm going to show you where we're at the 240Z with the 3.1 liter stroker. We're finally to a long block right here, which means we've got the head assembled to the block with ARP bolts, new freeze plugs. The head has been greatly ported. Intake and exhaust ports with bigger valves. And here's Ben. He's the owner of this Z car. So we're working together to get this done, and he can tell you a couple things about it.
Yes, I'm Ben. You may remember me from such reality shows as Are You Faster Than a Redneck? But this time not in a BMW. Got the Z. You can see how Rebello, who's been doing this for 30 some odd years, they really come in and they take it down. They go right up to the valve bosses there. You can't really take anything further off there, and you can't take anything further off here because of the water jackets. They really do a very fine job. All new valves in there with longer stems to go with the higher lift cam, and bigger exhaust valves specifically for the turbo setup to flow just that much better. And I want to talk about one more thing today. There's this very mysterious box. People say, how can you make a blow-through carbureted setup actually work? Well, this is an HKS Plenum. This is what's known as a Type 1. The difference between a Type 1 and a Type 2 is this balance tube. On a Type 2, it's got a balance tube with a little bit larger neck up front that splits it there. Now, the balance tube splits it up into two sections before it goes into the plenum. Let me just screw this off real quick to show you how it works. So there was an American style setup. It was called CarTech. That was really just a box with a hole on the front and absolutely nothing in the middle. The beauty of what the Japanese did is really right here. So here's where it comes in, it splits here, but it's these little holes right here. There's three of them, one for each carb, and that's the real important part. What that does is it pressurizes the floats. And what that means is that the more boost it's under, the richer the fuel-air mixture goes. So the flawed American systems, you could tune them, get them to be pig-rich at idle, and they would still lean out on the top end. The Japanese ones, you just do jets as if you were doing a normal, naturally aspirated, and it just adds the extra fuel through this genius baffling system all by itself. So yeah, it pressurizes the floats before it pressurizes the 6 different carbs. And then Rebello also did a nice job matching the intake manifold porting on the inside to both the 44 millimeter carbs and exactly to the holes on the head. So this thing should flow really well, thanks to Japanese mad scientists from the 80s. It's not going to lean out, it's not going to explode. It actually makes a really nice daily driver. Yeah, it's kind of the miracles of blow-through carburetors. How about that?
Now Ben, show them the difference between the intake and exhaust ports that Rebello did and the stock L24 engine that used to be in this 240Z.
So, the engine it used to have, this is an E88 head. It's another square exhaust port head. You could bolt the same header to that one as this one, but as you can see, there's just nothing. You run into the valve guides right away. And just Rebello taking all that effort to very, very carefully get around them just creates so much more room. And on a non-cross flow head, that's really essential. You don't see too many non-cross, well, you don't see any these days, but really dealing with what they've got, the headwork is everything for an L series. So.
And another good subject is your adjustable cam sprocket and your adjustable Kamiyari timing chain tensioner, which the factory has problems over time where the factory oil-powered chain tensioner can sometimes overextend when you're changing chains and fold over, and then you're going to have a problem with your valves hitting your pistons. So Kamiyari fixed it with this adjustable timing chain tensioner. If you look inside, you'll see gears
instead of a little
that actually tighten the chain even more effectively and it maintains tight throughout the RPM band. And if you want to fine adjust your intake and exhaust timing, you have this adjustable sprocket.
With all these nice little degree marks right on the cam itself. It's set at neutral right now. And we also just slapped on a thermostatic oil cooler hauler on here. So to get the engine to warm up nicely, because you don't want to cool your oil before it actually needs to be cooled, it keeps the oil in the system until 180 degrees, and then it starts to flow to the oil cooler. So that's another cool thing.
And a Mishimoto oil cooler, look at that.
Yeah, fun little piece. You know, it's really lightweight aluminum. Mishimoto's made great radiators for years, and what are oil coolers except radiators for oil?
Basically. Alright, and there you have it. So far we got a great long block engine that next week we're going to be bolting on the intake and exhaust manifolds and check everything for size as far as the turbocharger and the clearances for everything. Make sure it fits the exhaust downpipe that's already on the car, because the turbos are slightly different sizes physically, but we believe it'll be just right to plug into the exhaust. If not, then maybe an inch or two will have to be added to the downpipe to make it fit. But other than that, I mean, you kind of expect that kind of stuff. Here's a nice little alternator bracket the factory didn't have, and this allows you to easily adjust your fan belt tension just by breaking these jam nuts loose and turning the center to tighten your alternator. So it makes life a lot easier when you're tightening your belt. You don't need a crowbar to try to tension everything up. You got a Mallory Unilite, probably one of the best ignition systems for this car.
How about the oil pan?
Oh yes, we can't forget the Arizona Z oil pan, which I believe I talked about in one of the other videos with this car. But it's
Not
such
the
a
best
nice
looking
oil pan.
pan there is, and the fins, nice thick aluminum fins for extra cooling and an extra quart of capacity, and a real nice turbo oil return fitting right there, right where you need it, right for the turbo. So, you know, no hack jobs like the old one where you had to put a hole in it and then clamp everything down and hope it wouldn't spring leak. This is AN fitted.
Talk about the ISKI cam a little bit. You got a special custom cam.
Ron Iscardian, the Iscardians have been in the business of cams for a long time, but Ron actually got trained as a mechanical engineer, and he did some real work for some cool racing teams back in the day and has been doing so ever since. He's a great guy. If you get him on the phone, he'll talk to you for like 45 minutes and explain exactly what it is about the cam that makes it work so well. What it is about the ISKI cam is it is a high lift, high duration, short overlap. So the valves go down a really long way, they stay down as long as possible, but there's almost no overlap between the intake and the exhaust, which makes it ideal for a turbo engine. That way everything just keeps flowing just right. So.
Well, there you have it. We've given you a detailed description of the new Nissan 3.1 liter stroker engine, the long block. We've met the owner of the Z. When this thing gets together, he's going to take it for some drives. We might even go to Top Gun Raceway and do a check on the strip and see how it goes.
And hopefully this answered some of the mysteries of how the hell you can blow through carbs.
Yeah, there's a secret to blow through carbureting, and the Japanese figured it out in the early 80s. And they did a good job. And thank you again for watching Budget Boostin'. If you like us on Facebook, like us on our YouTube page. Like our budgetboosting.com website. Check it out. Look at our budget boosting window stickers. Make any car look just that much better. And remember, knowledge is power. It's horsepower. Right now it kind of looks like one of those funny cars with the hood up, doesn't it? Or with the body up. But that, believe it or not, is the way to remove these engines. It's the best way. Because the engines are tucked so far into the firewall, and they do that for reasons of handling. Because the more your engine is behind the front wheels, the better and the lighter and more nimble a car handles. So what I'm going to show you here is the engine and transmission and the whole K-member assembly has been dropped for you. And basically, you're removing just what you have to separate it from the body, the unibody, and the areas where lines are attached. So you're only going to disconnect what you have to. You got your PCM, primary control module, power control module, and you disconnect that. That's under the hood. Air conditioning lines, various, just the lines you have to separate it from the unibody.